Oh, imagine how many PhD candidates are thinking about this dissertation right now, what we're seeing unfolding in Gaza, and how to make psychological sense of it.
Totally. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like when you're, I think when you're beleaguered and you feel victimized, then you can easily justify anything to yourself. And, and that's what's happening, right? I mean, everybody just says, October 7th, we can do anything we want. And it's like, okay, so you're allowed, first of all, you don't necessarily have to react at all, but how you react is up to you. Those are the words of the abuser. Well, October 7th, so we can do anything we want. We can drop an atomic bomb on Gaza City. We can do anything. October 7th, we can kill all the babies and eat them. October 7th, anything we want, anything. I mean, it's absurd, really, but it's also.
I went to an event the other day. It was a conservative event, and I don't even know why. I went just because I was invited. So I went, and there was this idiot there. He was the head of the Iowa Republican Party, and he's one of these abortion absolutists that, not only should all abortions be illegal from the moment of conception, but if a woman miscarries, she should be investigated and, all that stuff. And he said something about Gaza. I don't even remember what it was. And I said, it's up to all of us to support human rights. I said, this is the thing I don't understand about you so-called pro-life absolutists. You guys are pro-life from the point of conception to the point of birth. And then you don't give a shit what anybody does or has happened to them once they're born. And he says to me, you sound like you're pro-Hamas. And I said, you see, that's what I mean. I said, you're a fucking idiot. And there's nothing I can do with that. And that's how I left it.
Yeah, no. Well, that's. Yeah.
I blocked his phone number. He had given me his phone number earlier in the day, and I blocked it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I hear a lot of that kind of thing, and but the thing is, the Israelis, right? They have the term for this, this form of arguing, and it's called hasbara, right? It's basically like, we're going to say whatever it takes. Facts be damned, just to get our way. We're going to bully you, yell at you, shout at you. It's like, if you've ever seen either a reenactment or footage of a Cultural Revolution struggle session where some poor sap's wearing a dunce hat. It's 1968. The whole and he's got like a sandwich board with all of his purported sins, like I was a member of the landlord class or whatever, and the entire village is screaming at him that he's a capitalist running dog, that he's he betrayed the masses and the revolution. He's an enemy of Mao. Everyone's throwing like rotten fruit at him. And it's like, of course, most people, almost everyone, they're just going to break down. And that's like what it's like online. The IDF they have thousands of people employed all over the world just to go to, for example, the comment section of not this show, but they're going to come here.
Oh, they'll come here.
They're on my comment sections wherever my cartoons appear. I've got a kind of a barn burner of a cartoon about Gaza up right now, and those people are way up my ass right today over that.
Wow.
And it's like it's cyber warfare, and the thing is, there is no point really engaging with them or talking to them, because like with normal people, if you present them with facts, like let's say that I'm a liberal, I was always supportive of Israel, and then someone's like, well, but then look, they did this, they did that. Eventually you can wear them down, like the water making the Colorado River, carving out the Grand Canyon. But that's like not. But you can't, but you can't do that with these people because they're not trying to have a discussion. It's like they're trying to just browbeat you to death.
That is absolutely right. Hey, Cameron Drowley asks a good question. What's it like when you're on those Piers Morgan debates? How do you try and make a point while being cut off so often? Thank you for that. I gave it back to Alan Dershowitz as best I could. And the other couple of times, I was on once with Scott Horton, who I love and have great respect for. And Scott was the one doing the attacking against the other guys. And then the last time I was on, that was a weird experience because I was on with Jack Posobiec. And, I always considered him to be, if not Satan, then one of Satan's relatives. And then we're 10 minutes into it, and I realize, oh my God, they have me here to be on Jack Posobiec's side. Because what it ended up being was about Gaza. And I said, these evangelicals, they're perfectly happy to watch the Israelis just bomb any Christian church they want and wipe out entire Christian villages. And everybody's perfectly fine with that because they think that if they force all the Jews back to Israel, that Christ is coming and they're all going to go up in their rapture, which of course is nonsense and not mentioned anywhere at all in the Bible. It's a late 19th century invention of the American Southern Baptist Church. So, the way I was raised was to not interrupt or to apologize for interrupting and to try to wait my turn and be helpful. And I really try hard to do that. That has to go out the window on Piers Morgan because he expects you to jump in. In fact, his producer told me not to be afraid to interrupt, that if the interrupting gets to be too much, that Piers will break it up. But it's not really in my nature to interrupt. I have to force myself to do it on that show. Thanks for asking. That was a funny question.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of these shows, they kind of feel Piers Morgan, I've never been on, but it doesn't seem like it's like quite like this. But I remember I was a regular on Fox in like about 20 years ago, all the time over war on terror stuff. And they had ergonomic warfare. Like you'd go in and like if you were on the O'Reilly Factor or whatever, you were sitting on like a broken secretary's chair that was like you had a hard time like maintaining your balance. You're about a foot below Bill. And I'm 6'2", so I'm not really used to that looking up like this. And Bill is just sitting at a nice, comfortable Aeron chair, leaning up against the table, and you're sitting there like, and it's like they do everything to fuck with you. The cameraman literally would be like whispering like comments like at you, like while you're on the air, and he'd be like, it's like.
Come on. Oh, come on.
It was like being razzed like, by a baseball catcher. It's like, and I was just like, this is so immature. And I was like, look, I was bullied throughout my childhood. You can't do anything to me. I'm like, you can't, it's not going to do anything to me, but it must work with some people. One time I saw Hannity was doing that to someone, and he brought in this like English professor from Oxford or something, and she obviously had no idea what Fox was, and so he starts yelling at her like, why are you with the terrorists? She's like, pardon me, I don't understand. At one point she's like very puzzled. She's like, I'm sorry, is there something wrong with the connection? Why are you shouting at me?
Good for her. Good.
But she was genuinely puzzled, and it was kind of a superpower to watch.
That doggone Bill O'Reilly, I think I mentioned to you, his producer called me once to get me on the show. And I said, sure, I'll come on the show. And he said, well, you're not allowed to go on any show 3 days before or 3 days after our show. I said, get out of here. I'm not going to just block off a week to be on the Bill O'Reilly show. So I said, no.
A week.
And then they called later like, well, we could make it 2 days and 2 days. But I said, no, I'm not doing it. And I didn't. I never went on his show. Not doing it
all the time. I mean, the first time I went on, my friend said, who was a DC insider, his girlfriend at the time was Laura Bush's PR flack. Oof. And he said like, if you go on the Factor and you survive, you've won. and it's true, they cut your mic constantly. Think you're making a point.
I heard that.
Yeah, yep. And like you don't get it out. It's pretty bad.